Full screen. Nope. Okay. We'll go back to you. Oh. Storm.
Waiting for the stream to update so I can get a quick sound check.
Oh, is there anybody in the chat room?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I won't launch it then. Full screen. Nope. Okay. We'll go back to you. Oh. So as you can tell, I have these other headphones on because I left my earbuds at home.
Waiting for the stream update so I can get a quick sound check. I was going to comment on that.
Is there anybody in? Yeah. These are in the sound booth.
Oh, okay.
And it's weird because I don't hear myself now. Only muffled through these. Whereas with the earbuds in, I could always hear, through the, and so that's a little weird.
So the mic doesn't give you your own audio back?
For whatever reason, these are Beats. Right. So, they're too special to work like regular headphones. They got to be Beats headphones. But with the earbuds, with any other thing I've used, I've gotten audio back.
Or were you just hearing yourself through your own head?
I don't know. I don't know.
So the next time you have your headphones back, come off mic a little bit and see if it changes what you hear in your own head.
I will have to do that.
All right. Somebody is burning something downstairs. Oh, Chag is now in the chat room. Hey, Chag. Good to see you.
Oh.
I'm going to force Seth to log into the chat room.
Man. Work. Connect. Elementopy.
Come on. Chrome just spontaneously did a reload because, why wouldn't you?
And you have what OS?
Windows 10.
10? Oh, well, that's probably your problem.
I know. If they were good video tools for Linux, I'd be using Linux, but there just aren't.
Oh, I was just saying 10. Oh, you probably bought it with 10, though, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, no, it upgraded. I bought it with 7 and took the free upgrade. So now I don't own my machine anymore. Microsoft tells me when and where I will update.
Well, you could always format reinstall and go back to 7.
Yeah, but I wanted 10. I need to learn how to support 10, I still do that from time to time. I actually support end users. But only about 1% of the end users in the world are using 10.
I don't know. They're up to like 500 million installs of it. So unless they've paid people to simply install it all.
Yeah, KDN Live is fine as long as you don't want to do what I'm doing. Nothing works with KDN Live. You can't, do... Well, the last time I looked at it, it may have been a while. It's been a while since I used it, but the one thing that KDN Live wasn't was live. It was great for recording and for editing after the fact, but for actual live production, sucked. Well, I see. Got a couple of people there. All right.
Yay, peoples.
I think we're ready to do this thing. My looking at the notes, it looks like this is going to be a half-hour show. We'll be done by 8 p.m. Eastern, but it'll probably be 3.5 hours in.
Oh, dear.
So go ahead and start your recording if you haven't already.
Focal processing for the historical archive has been implemented at this end node. I know that was dumb.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I think my response when I do something dumb on this show is going to be, they can't all be midgets and backdoor roller coasters.
Backyard roller coasters. Careful, backdoor. That sounds bad. Okay,
but you can go out the back door to use them.
That's
so
true. Oh, good. My other me disappeared. Now there's just one me. All right, here we go. Making a marker. Starting the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the GeekRant, episode 285, To If by Sea, recorded May 14th, Mother's Day 2017, and brought to you by Element OP Productions. ElementOP.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the only show on the internet where geeks rant. I am your host, Mark, the Sultan of the Soapbox Cockerel, and joining me this week, as always, is, well, the only co-host I have tonight, Seth the Gooey Kid Anderson. Hey, Seth.
Hey, Mark, and welcome to the faithful Element Opiites. I'm so glad you could partake in this voyage with us.
So we record this show at 8 p.m. Eastern time so that I can, get my kids in bed and stuff and ready for the school day before I have to be a podcaster. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Central Time for Seth, so it's not quite as late in the day. But because of weird time zone variances and the fact that Arizona doesn't recognize daylight saving time, it's 3 in the afternoon on a Sunday for Miles. So he makes a greater sacrifice than you realize to be here every week. And to ask him to be here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Mother's Day, yeah, that didn't happen. So we're Milesless tonight. We miss him, but he will be back next week. Seth, Did you do anything special for Mother's Day?
No.
Yep. You don't have any mothers left in your life, right?
No.
Yeah.
So just came to church and then came back to church to podcast.
So what my wife, I've talked about it on the show before. The 2017 goal around the Cockerel household is the exterior of the home. We purchased the home last summer. This year we're working on. I've had the lawn guys coming in. The way this yard, it sits on a big hill and it's been terraced over the years. So there's 3 sections of it. One section is all deck. Another section is yard, and then the third section is wilderness. And we're trying to reclaim the wilderness. So I've had various people of South American descent working in the South 40, as I call it, that lower tier, to reclaim that, cut down the small trees, clear out the vines, that sort of stuff. We've reseeded the lawn because there was nothing but a little bit of patchy moss. And we're going to have the decks repainted. Just, months, every month we throw a couple $100 at it. Well, for Mother's Day, my wife decided she wanted outdoor furniture. And I've talked about it before as to how expensive outdoor furniture is. Just to give you some context, we have a couch and a love seat in our living room. We have 5 people in our home, 5 seats there, works nicely. Together, that cost maybe $1,800. No, it's certainly not high-end furniture, but, we're not paupers either. And we bought that a few years ago. We went looking for outdoor furniture today, and it was like, that sofa over there that seats 3 people, yeah, that's $3,700. I'm sorry, what? Say that again? So if we wanted to outfit our upper deck with a dining room set, outdoor dining set, and the lower deck with some lounge furniture, and then the patio lawn area with lounge furniture, essentially 3 areas, we could have, had we not had been morons, easily spent $20,000 yesterday. My wife, who is every salesman's dream, would have just whipped out the credit card and said, we'll worry about it later, because she just gets sucked in by any sales pitch, any at all. And so the guy's like, this is the prime furniture. It's the best ever. It's going to last you, 30 years. And I said, yeah, honey, it probably will last 30 years. But think about this realistically. We're going to spend an hour a week on it. Optimistically, probably less. So in 20 years, we will have spent 100 hours on it. And you want to spend $20,000 on 100 hours of use? No, let's back the bus up a little bit. But we were able to compromise, and compromise means me saying, no, you can't have that. We can't afford it. But we have a nice dining area set and an outdoor sofa and a couple of chairs coming later next week. So that's what I did for pre-Mother's Day yesterday. Literally spent all day sitting on various forms of wicker and iron. So that's what happens when you get married.
The struggle is real, people. The struggle is real.
Yeah, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Anybody out there who has a mother, go give her a call. This is 3 days late. If you hear this on Wednesday and you're an American and you didn't realize that today, Sunday, was Mother's Day, you're in big trouble. Go call your mom and then send her a flower or something. No.
What you do is you say, Mom, something happened to Amazon Prime and it got shipped to my house by mistake. I'm bringing it over on Friday when I get off work. So that way you can then order something off Amazon Prime and take it over Friday. And then, she'll probably buy the lie that she knows you're
Yeah.
lying and you know you're lying, but she's a mom and moms do that because, they put up with the crap kids don't do for them. So
Yeah, so
it
family
might work.
togetherness by subterfuge and dishonesty. That makes sense. That's yeah, don't do that, people.
Hey, I'm trying to help, or hurt. I don't know.
But at the end of the day, I've said it's a good match many times. We get to go see superhero movies because I like superheroes and she likes muscly guys with no shirts on. So we went to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 yesterday, and I will give you my spoiler-free review of it. Fun time, not a good movie. Now, I said that about the first one, if you may recall. The first one was a really fun experience, 2 hours well spent. I've watched it 3 or 4 times in the last year, but not a good movie in terms of storytelling and character development. Just not a good movie, just a fun time. And I've said, before, I don't need something to be both. Something can be good and it can be fun. And if it's really good, it's both good and fun. But Guardians of the Galaxy was less good. Even the second one was less good even than the first one. The characters were weak. The plot was weaker. I mean, this is not even a spoiler, but there is a point at which they set out to kill an immortal being, and they do it in an almost Laurel and Hardy fashion. And it's fun, but it's not good storytelling. So there's my review of it.
Yeah, I mean that kind of you seem a little harder on it than I was. I didn't think it was as good as the first Guardians of the Galaxy, but a solid mid-tier Marvel cinematic experience, above the Iron Man 2 or 3. I didn't like Winter Soldier near as much as you did. And the brief Ultron sighting, Avengers 2, are like, dredging up the bottom of the Marvel universe. So I think this is a good middle one with the first Captain America. I don't know. So
yeah, you won't miss it. I mean, you like the first Captain America way more than I did. I didn't think it was very good. So just we look for different things in different movies.
Right.
But it was a lot of fun, and Baby Groot is awesome. There's a couple of times in there where there's an intense picture, fighting galactic aliens while chasing a toddler. And that was sort of the way they played Baby Groot. And it was really fun. It was great. The soundtrack was good as always. It was a lot of fun. There was more humorous. There was more humor in this one. Drax had better lines in this one. But that third act, it just fell apart in the worst possible ways.
Yeah, it got too serious for too long. That a different set of characters, I think, could have stayed in that realm that long. But with the Guardians, they're too fun-loving, easygoing to spend that much time, on the razor's edge of emotion and death and everything. Right. So,
and one of the characters was literally unconscious during the climax. I mean, talk about underused characters.
Right. The one that's probably the most enjoyable.
Right. And so, we've teased it all around. But and my wife was disappointed there was only like 1 30-second scene of Chris Pratt with no shirt on. So even on that vein, it was disappointing. Of course, Drax was half naked the whole time, and you find out why, and that was funny.
Right.
Lots of humor.
Yeah.
And then I don't even have any idea what you're talking about. So ready, go, Seth.
All right. Arisen, which, okay, it's sort of like military science fiction, but it's zombie literature. And these are like, imagine the baddest special forces operators in the world trying to hold the last vestiges of humanity together while they're looking for a cure, fighting off hundreds and thousands of undead, and the undead are starting to mutate. And anyway, I where a guy I used to work really loved this series, and it's up to like it's going to rival Honor Harrington books probably before too long. And I had bought the first omnibus, and I had got it. I had it shipped to work, and it came the day I got fired. So good thing it came then and not a day or two later. But so I read that, and then I used my free book from Amazon Prime this month to get the second omnibus. So I basically got 3 books for one, or this one might have been 4. But it took me 2.5 days to read it. So, and I am a binge reader. So there was, of course, it's kind of like the equivalent of reading 3 or 4 books. But anyway, zombie, you wouldn't like it, Mark. Not your style. But if you like the science fiction, if you like military fiction, small arms, small unit stuff, not big space battles, but this team of 5 people trying to survive zombie infestation, I really enjoy it. Over the top, not really believable aside from the whole zombie stuff, but enjoyable reading nonetheless.
I just finished a book that it's esoteric. Not everybody's going to like it, but I really enjoyed it. It's called The Adventure of English, and it's a history of the English language, starting with when the Norman invaders invaded Brittany and essentially married both their culture and their language with the Welsh who were there and the Dutch, and going all the way through the modern era. I think the book was written in 2003 or 4, so it doesn't cover the last decade or so. But it's an interesting treatment of the story of a language. And one of the interesting points that recurring themes throughout the book is that English has a unique ability to consume another language, claim it, and then spit it back out as if it were English. Like, for example, the word hotel is not an English word. It's a French word. But English consumed it and then spit it back out all over the world, so that now when you go to France, Italy, Japan, and use the word hotel, you're using an English word that was only Englishized because English said, this is my word now. And it really draws the picture of this 800-pound gorilla traipsing through time and continents saying, you're my word now, you're my word now. All you people there, you now speak English just because you have to. And because, the British Empire or, whichever empire at the time required that you speak English. And of course, it talked about the English went across the sea and became American English, and then Americans began to dominate. And so now most English today that are spoken in Japan and in West Africa and in Sumatra is American English and not English. So it's it's very esoteric stuff, kind of dry, but if you're into linguistics and into history, it was a great story, and I recommend it. The Adventure of English.
So, okay, you listened to it. Do you
Yes.
think it would be a good read?
Yeah, I do. What I think it was a better experience as being read because it was an English man reading an English accent about the English language. So when you read it, you're going to put your own slant on all of it. And there's lots of Old English there and Norse, and so I wouldn't know how to pronounce the Old English words like the reader who read it, studied and was trained on how to read that. So I do think it is a better story to be read to you by a person well trained in the art of speaking those languages. But I think as a read, it would still be good.
Because A Way with Words is becoming one of my all-time favorite podcasts, and I would love to hear that book. I don't think I would like to read it because words that, I don't know. I might have to use one of my Amazon Prime books on that.
There you go. I think I hadn't really thought about that, but I really do think this work is probably best read by somebody who understands different tongues, because there's lots of German and lots of Old Norse and that sort of stuff that where I reading it, I would just struggle or even just skip over it and say, oh, yeah, that passage there. Where this guy, we had actually had a guy reading the words in what I assume is a passable Old Norse accent. I don't know that, but it was at least was something that I could grasp hold of. Good question. I never would have thought of that because I consume all my works by audio. But yeah, that's a good question.
Huh? I mean, because if you hung around me, you wouldn't know that stuff like that I really dig. So, but I mean, if you just hung around me a little bit, you probably know that about me. But I'm looking for. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to how I'm going to consume this work now.
Yeah. Yeah, culture defines language. Language defines culture. You cannot separate one from the other. You can't learn a language without first learning the culture, and you can't understand a culture without knowing its language. So it's if you're an armchair historian like both Seth and I are, you must have a love of languages. I speak more pieces of languages than he does, but he has the same interest from that armchair sociologist sort of mentality that I do.
And even in your faith, like because this greatly impacts how you view Christianity. Again, I'm not going to get into the Religion Today podcast, but if you take the Bible literally, how do you know that the word being said wasn't meant to be taken literal, but it was an idiom? If I say I'm throwing in the towel, you understand that I'm giving up. But somebody who translates that literally thinks I took a towel and threw it into a building somewhere. But no, it meant so,
Right.
but so we understand, the culture that came from boxing, that, he's giving up. And so the way you would translate that into another culture, do you translate the idiom? Do you translate the word, or do you translate the meanings? And then that can greatly skew your message because the person translating understood the words but didn't understand the culture and said Seth took a towel and threw it in this building somewhere. He wasn't clear on that. And then the other person who knew the culture said Seth gave up. And then two people go, no, see, that you can't trust either one of them because they're saying two different things. So fun times.
And one of the things that I liked about this author was I said earlier that he talked about the power that be. There were multiple powers. Of course, the English Empire was a military power, but before the English Empire was a military power, the church, the English church, the Bible in English was as big a power as the British Navy. And then later, it wasn't the American military that gave it the power, but the American economy that gave it the power. So he really delves into what is the actual driving force, not just the country, not just the military, but the actual driving force that makes a language, pervasive. I thought I'd just spend a minute or two on that one. We had a nice long discussion about that. And then I just lost Seth. So ordinarily, Miles and I would just vamp through this, since Seth has lost his connection, as he always does around this time every Sunday night. But since Miles isn't here, I'm just going to have to wait for him to come back. And he'll be back shortly, and then we'll be able to continue on. Hey, welcome back, Seth.
Okay. Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. So, I was going to, again, but, one of the reasons that the English Bible was so profound was the persecution of Mary, the Queen Mary, who kind of tried to drive the Protestants out. And so they took their Bibles with them and they sprang up all around. Right. And, the Geneva Study Bible was, even for 50 years after the King James Bible was produced, was still the best-selling English Bible around. And so, religion and culture and all that has a big impact. And I don't know. Sorry, this is not Religion Today.
Well, you can talk about history of religious ideals without turning into theology.
Right.
That, believe it, whether you like it or not, there are people who say that religious thinking has held humanity back for centuries. Whether you accept that or not, you can't deny the impact of religious thinking on culture for all recorded time.
Yeah, and the Noah Webster, who wrote the first American dictionary, he pretty much set out to define most every word in it by its biblical context. And so, the three books most Americans had in their home was they had a Bible, they had a dictionary, which used the Bible as definitions, and then they had like Shakespeare. So back in the olden days.
Right.
So yeah, it had a big impact on the way this country thought and the language and even the idioms that have slowly faded out as, people aren't as familiar with the source material.
All right, moving on. I don't have any listener feedback this week. You guys have apparently taken some time off from that, so we'll hopefully get back to you next week. And now we'll just jump straight into the news. I want to... Well, we'll just go in order here. So the open source license is once again validated in a court.
Yes, so a federal court has ruled that an open source license is an enforceable contract. This open source PDF interpreter called GhostScript was released under the GNU GPL, the GNU General Public License. And so that public license says that any software you develop using this has to be basically open sourced as well, or you can pay the developer a fee to license it. And so this developer from South Korea did a suite of productivity apps, and he incorporated this, but he made it proprietary. He earned money off of it, made a decent amount, but he refused to open source his product, and he refused to license it in the way you would traditional software licensing. And so the company sent him a letter. They ignored it. So then the company took him to court, and then he filed a motion saying, hey, bleep you. And the court said, no, we'll go to trial over this. And so it's currently under a lawsuit, but the court agreed with the position of the copyright that this is an enforceable contract. So on the one hand, it's good for open source, but on the other hand, it's bad for you and all of the times you click I agree, and you don't ever read saying that you have agreed and you will abide by the licensing contract. So it's a double-edged thing, good for open source, but bad for the end user, maybe, but good for the end user too.
And so that's one of the reasons that a lot of people shy away from the GPL. The GPL is very wide-reaching. It says if any part of your code is GPL code, all of your code must be GPL. You can't incorporate it. That's why other people use like the Berkeley license or the Apache license. The Apache license is much more business friendly. It says you only have to open source the parts of the code that were already open sourced when you used it. So you can't take something open, slap a proprietary label on it, and sell it. You can sell it all you want, but if somebody asks for the code, you have to give them the code that was already open when you grabbed it. GPL says if you use one line of GPL in your, I'm oversimplifying, lawyers put down the phones, but basically it says if any one line of your code is GPL, all your code must be GPL. And a lot of people will snag an open source tool not really paying attention to that and find out that they've open sourced their entire project. Sometimes you want to open source your whole project. Sometimes you don't. And you need to be very aware of the type of license that you are using.
No, definitely. And so, we talked before about open source and patenting and licensing and stuff. So I thought this was an interesting story to bring up. So, and as of the time of this story, there isn't a final resolution yet.
Like, for example, anything that I do on Element OP website, any of our podcasts, it uses, of course, a software license wouldn't be appropriate there. It uses the Creative Commons license. And what I say there is that you can take this and you can redistribute it, you can make copies of it, you can reproduce it in its entirety. You cannot edit it. You cannot change it. You cannot make derivations of it. You can cut it up and distribute pieces of it, but you cannot use pieces of it in your own work and call it your own work. That's part of it. That's the no derivations. And then the other one is share alike. You can't sell my product. If you take my product, you can give it away, but you can't sell it. That's the share and share alike. And so there's all kinds of different licenses for whatever work you want to do. You can pretty much decide your rules. Copyright is like that. If you create something, you can decide whatever the rules are. The danger comes when you take somebody else's work and they've decided the rules, and if you're not careful, Stallman has just decided the rules for your product. And that's what happened in this guy's case.
Right. But just the way that this person responded to the whole thing, it's like he didn't care. It's like, hey, bleep you. I mean, that was he was just kind of flippant about it and didn't seem to care. At least that's the impression I got from reading the article. So it wasn't a case of, I didn't mean to do that. It was like a case of, I got this product for free, so I didn't have to do the work, and I'm going to make all the money off of it. And that's your bad luck for making it freely available.
Right. And the GhostScript people, that's the software that he's talking about, GhostScript, they have an alternative license. You can purchase their software, and they will sell it to you for whatever the fee is, and then you can make it closed source.
Right.
But so he flipped them the bird and said, no, I'm going to use your product in a way other than you intended, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the court said, turns out there is something they can do about it. It's nice. I like seeing these sort of things in federal courts. I like these decisions finally being put into law instead of being argued about on the internet.
Right. I don't know, Mark, man. If we can't argue about stuff like this, then that just means there's going to be more cat videos out there.
That's a good point. And it's always tricky in business to know how to differentiate yourself. This guy's trying to sell his product, but he needed a feature that people would want, and the ability to edit and produce PDFs was a feature he wanted. Lots of people are trying to differentiate themselves in their feature set, including HP, who says that the best way to differentiate themselves from other people is to install keyloggers right there built in to your system.
Right. But, the thing is, they make it freely available to everyone. So, kudos to them for taking a tool of the hacking community and giving it to everyone. He said facetiously. But yeah, so apparently they use this driver, Connexit. They manufacture audio chips, and as part of their driver software, it logs every keystroke you do on your computer and saves it in an unencrypted file on your hard drive. Now, true, it gets overwritten when you boot up and stuff, but man, that means when you typed in your password at your bank, you typed in your password at your Bitcoin account, and Bitcoin's getting valuable. So anything you type in, it's there on your computer to see, with with how easy it is to get infected, just giving this, it's saying, hey, people, come try to get my passwords, because they're all here in this nice document that everybody who knows, see users public, mictrade.log, and you can see everything I've ever typed on my computer. So,
and this is dumb on so many levels. It's an audio driver. Why would an audio driver ever need to capture login credentials? That makes no sense to me at all.
I mean, I could understand if there is an issue with the driver, activate this switch or something to see if there's something they're doing. I mean, I can understand this being a useful troubleshooting tool, but not something that you would have installed and turned on by default. That's the bonehead dumb play.
Yeah. And that's just not paying attention. This is a prepackaged thing. AP is not trying to all your base or belong to us. They're just not paying attention.
And if they're not paying attention about this, what else are they not paying attention about? It's to me, this is a, I don't know. I used to like HP, and now they got front runners disease. The only problem was they weren't front runners at the time, and they turned stupid. So congratulations, HP.
Yeah.
You've screwed up. But again, every company does. You
could maybe see this as some sort of revenue. I mean, if you're trying to be conspiratorial about it, you could see this as some way to generate revenue by sharing your information. I really don't think that's the case, but companies, they need to find ways to make money. And a popular thing to do right now is to take something you've already paid for and then make you pay for something else. Like, for example, Alexa, once you've paid for the product, now they're going to make you listen to ads too. Yay!
Woohoo! And so now this isn't Amazon doing this. This is a third-party company, Voice Labs. What I don't even know what that word is. Chunderficially. I, I should have Googled that word. They are described as a voice experience analytics company. They're hoping to cash in on Amazon's success by inserting, quote, 6 to 15 second long advertisements at the start and end of conversation. This, the company hopes, can naturally lead a consumer into an experience, which is a polite way of saying we will make you buy all the things. So here is the conversation. Hey, Alexa, what time is it? It's time for you to get up off your couch and go to Gold's Gym, where you get a 2-for-1 month membership, and the current time is 6:15. I mean, that's the kind of thing that I hate this, but it's just the cacophony of crap that pollutes our atmosphere and noise is just something that this makes me want to, even though it's not Amazon doing it, this makes me never want to have an Amazon device in my house.
Yeah, so this is the same as an Android guy making an app wants to make some money so he can subscribe to a third-party service, and they put ads in his app. He's not aware of what the ads are. He has no control over them. He just assigns a 40 pixel by 80 pixel whatever section of the app, and that ads will be displayed there. And these are skill people who are making skills for the Amazon Echo. And a skill can be anything from order me a pizza to hail me an Uber, whatever. And these people are going to monetize their skills by subscribing to this service, who are going to put voice to text ads in it. So you're gonna do the skill, Alexa, order me my favorite pizza from Domino's. Great. And did you know that Pepsi goes really well with pizza, and Domino's has a special right now, buy a 2-liter, get one free. And you didn't ask for that. The developer wasn't aware really of what it was going to be there. He just clicked the yes, make me money button.
Yeah. I don't like it because, if you can put it before and after, that means it's going to be put before and after. So this little 5-second talk has turned into a minute of listening to Alexa drone on about crap. And who wants that in their life? Yeah. I don't know. I understand people want to make money. I'm not going to develop this thing if it doesn't make me any money. I get that. But I don't mind stuff on the screen. But and it's more because the way I don't like a lot of noise, because when I'm in a crowd, it's like I hear everything loud at the same volume. And so I value my lack of noise around me. And that's why I live in the country. And that's why I'm not going to order anything from Alexa.
And that,
because of this.
It brings me back to my mantra. It's become my theme of 2017. Pay for what you like. You know how to prevent this? You pay for what you like. You pay 30 cents for that pizza ordering app, and you don't have to have ads. Except lots of people right now don't even give you the option to pay for it because ads are relatively lucrative. So that's something that the economy is just going to have to sort out on its own.
Yeah, and I don't like it. Which I understand people. That means it's going to thrive because I am so outside the norm that I am a reverse predictor of most things technology. If I don't like them, that means most people will, because most people don't care. And arg.
Yeah, and there's always that balance between what the developer needs and what the customer needs. And obviously the developer needs to serve the customer, but you can't necessarily have the tail wagging the dog. Steve Jobs famously said things like, you don't ask the customer what they want, you tell them what they want. And it's it's always a challenge. Developers are the same thing. Sure, you want to order a pizza, but you don't want to pay 30 cents for the privilege of ordering a pizza. So we'll stick an ad in there, but you don't like the ad either. So we've come to a stalemate where I can't give you what you want and make money at it. I can't get what I need. And Microsoft is no different in this. Their new latest operating system, Windows 10s, which is for Surface, they're fighting that balance between what Microsoft needs and what people need. And what they've decided that you don't ever need is any browser other than Microsoft Edge.
Right, or any search provider other than Bing. So, on the one hand, hey, you can install another app or another browser on your Android phone, but it's going to default to Chrome or whatever. Same thing with Apple. You can install whatever that WebKit crap, Safari, or you can install something else, but it's always going to go to that. So, on the one hand, hey, this is Microsoft developing the Microsoft product. And they are by no means a monopoly in the hardware business. There's several other companies that produce a Surface clone, and and the Surface will run the regular Windows experience. But if you're going to purchase a Surface from Microsoft, you're going to get not the regular Windows. You're going to get a quote unquote optimized Windows that is only going to have Edge as the default. It's only going to have Bing as a search, and you're only going to be able to install stuff from the Windows Store, which is something I hate about my tablet. When I went to install, I have 8.1. I went to install Skype on it. I had to install I couldn't just go to the website and install it. I had to install through the thing. And so it linked my Skype account to my Hotmail address, and I can't get those unlinked. And so curse you, Microsoft. You are Corbin to me again for that. So but at the same time, this is their hardware, their software. They should have the right to do it. So, one, is anybody going to use S? Because if you think of 10S, the way you thought of Windows RT, it's really going to suck. And so, yes, they're trying to lock it down. Will anybody care?
Well, the big market for this, and I'm still somewhat connected to those circles, is in education. Schools are looking to buy inexpensive personal computing devices. The Chromebook is currently crushing that market. For a while it was iPads, then it was Android tablets, and now the Chromebook is the darling. Microsoft wants to get in on that, and this is a selling point for them. This is central management. You can give your kids these tablets, and they can't install anything that doesn't come through our vetted store. They're limited in their abilities. For example, you could get Firefox or Chrome on it through the Microsoft Store, except Firefox and Chrome aren't in the Microsoft Store. You can get Opera Mini. You can throw that on there, but none of those can ever be hooked in as the default browser. So anytime you click on a web link, it's going to open Edge. As an end user, as me buying a device, owning that device, and wanting to do my life with it, that's misery. But as a tech admin, and I need to make sure everything works the same way across 1,000 devices, that's music to my ears. So that's the market that Microsoft is going for here. They're pitching it to businesses, but really I don't think businesses are going to be buying these. I think the real play is in education, elementary and secondary education. But really the price point is still cost prohibitive. So you have a product here that doesn't really have a market, doesn't really have a sales base. So naturally Microsoft is throwing everything behind it because that's what they do.
Yeah, we're getting to the point, and in a lot of ways we're already there, where your hardware, you're locked into your hardware by your previous decisions. It's a pain in the bobo hiney to go from
you watch your language.
No, I don't want to watch that. To go from an Android device to an Apple device, or of course, if you were on a Windows device, it's easy to switch because there was never anything on a Windows device mobilely. But because you've got the Chrome, you've got the Android way of doing things, you got the Apple way of doing things, and now Windows is trying to say, hey, they've locked in tremendous user bases, and then they've got them locked in forever, so hey, let's do that too. So on the one hand, it's good because once you get a customer, you got them for life, because even if they don't like the experience, they like the experience well enough that they are not going to try the switching experience again. So they dislike switching more than they dislike your current product, and then eventually it'll just be, oh well, that's I use a Windows thing, so I'm going to be stuck with the Windows 10s or whatever, the 12s or the idiot s, whatever they call their next OS. And so on the one hand, I see it, and I don't have a problem with them doing it, but I hate that. But most people don't care. They want to be told how to do something, because the choice. I mean, I was trying to teach somebody how to use PowerPoint, and I would right click. I would highlight something with my mouse, click and drag to highlight, right click copy, go over to another screen, go over to another slide, right click paste. Well, one time I Control A, Control C, Alt Tab, Control V, and they didn't understand what I did, because one time I used a mouse, they didn't want to know the keyboard option. They only wanted to know one way to do something. So, people, there will be people who eat this up. Will it be enough for them to, and will it survive I don't know. I think it could easily survive the EU antitrust thing, because it's a proprietary piece of technology, but I just don't think enough people are going to care.
Yeah, vendor lock-in is sort of the golden canary. No, that's not the word. The golden goose. If you can get somebody locked into your platform, and a perfect example, a friend of mine a while back tried his first iPhone, and it was 6 months of misery getting everything from his Android experience into his iPhone experience to work in the same way. So sure, you could load the Google app and still use your Gmail. There were always workarounds, but to get everything syncing properly to iCloud and to get the same experience, it took him piece by piece to get him and his wife and his kids over. It took 6 months, and now he has said, "I'm never leaving Apple, not because I love their products, but because I hated that experience. I'm never going to go through that again." And that's music to a hardware vendor's ears. Yes, we won. We wore them down, and we made it so miserable and so terrible that they'll never leave. That's why Comcast is such terrible customer service when you try to cancel. They want you to get tired of sitting on hold. They want you to decide not to drive 50 miles to the nearest drop-off location where you can drop off your hardware. They want you to just be so miserable trying to quit them that you stay with them. This is a science that has been perfected over the years of abusing your customers so that they stay with you, because leaving you is so miserable.
Yep, and because they're the big companies, they pay the big money to make it legal. Of course, they just lobby and give money to the government because they love it and want it to work right. It's not about crushing competition. It would never be about that. But
and sometimes staying with somebody is the absolute worst thing you can do. Like, for example, if you're still using Windows XP and you haven't updated, it's the worst thing you could possibly be doing. And, something like 150,000 computers were hit in a day by an attack called WannaCry ransomware. And it all exploited vulnerabilities that are months to years old. And so much so that Microsoft has come out and said, we're going to patch Windows 7 and Windows XP, two things that we've said are dead, because this thing is causing such havoc. And when I read this, part of me says, wow, this is newsworthy, because 75,000 computers in 99 countries were affected in a short period of time, just in less than a day. But then I read farther down and I see that all of the exploits were well-known exploits that should have been patched just by not preventing your computers from updating. If you did nothing but let your computers update themselves automatically, you would not be hit by this. So this is really a case of thinning the herd, and I'm having a hard time having any compassion for these people.
Yeah, but if you let your computers update automatically, all of a sudden you come in one day and you have Windows 10 when you didn't want it.
Good point.
So it's one of those things. Microsoft created the turn off automatic updates by bleeping their customers yet again. And then so because of that, customers are leery to do updates and leery to let them just install by default. So then they've created this toxic environment that allows, I mean, there's always the 0-day stuff, but that allows repackaged old vulnerabilities to incite fear and hysteria on the internet. So they're a victim of their own crappy customer bleeping. So I don't feel bad. I mean, I do feel bad for the people because they are reacting, trying to protect themselves from Microsoft screwing them, and they're getting screwed by an unknown person who has not just made their machine unwieldy but unusable by ransom it. And who backs up? You know, the people who don't update are also the people who don't back up. So all of a sudden, you know, their stuff is held hostage and they don't know what to do.
Yeah, if you still have critical data on a Windows XP machine, you're not a backup person.
Right.
Somebody did find a kill switch for this and quickly propagated that. And Microsoft quickly updated their Windows Defender software. And what's the new one? Defender is the old name. Defender's their name. Security Essentials is the old name. So it minimized the impact of it, but still, it just goes to show you that it's that whole catch-22 again, where the vendors have created a nightmarish scenario where you can't, if you update, you get something you don't want. If you don't update, you get screwed. Either way, you're going to get screwed. You don't have a choice in the matter. That's why I'm running Windows 10 on the production system that I'm using right now. I don't like it. I don't want it. But it was either that or not have my machine patched anymore. Microsoft forced me to move along. And that's just the way it is. And I'm going along with them. I said earlier, the reason I'm using Windows on this thing is because there aren't good tools for Linux. Linux guys, I dare you to prove me wrong. But when it comes to podcasting and video editing, there aren't tools that are comparable. There are tools that you can get by on, but there aren't tools that are comparable that will do the same job with the same ease on the same hardware. So there you go. And that's it. Those are our news stories. 5.
I was going to say, but Mark, next year, the year of the Linux desktop, all of that's going to...
Yes. 2018 is the year of the Linux. We'll finally beat 10%.
Let's get to it first.
That didn't seem like much. It was 5 stories, but we still managed to spend 45 minutes talking about them because that's how we roll. And now, Seth, tell me what happened this week in history.
All right. On May the 12th, 1941, German engineer Konrad Zuse unveils the Z3, now generally recognized as the first fully functional programmable computer. Because Germany was fighting World War II, not much was known about the Z3 until after the war. That happened this week in history, Mark, and now back to you.
And so the distinction there, programmable computers, is that a computer that most computers prior to that point, all computers prior to that point, could do a predetermined task. They were designed either in hardware to do a task or their software was designed to do a task. Programmable means that it can do multiple tasks. It can adjust its functioning based on what you want it to do. That was a revolution. We take that for granted now, but somebody had to do it first, and it was those pesky Nazis that did it first.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, I guess I'm glad we won the war. I don't know.
And now this is the part of the show where I tell you how you can feed back to us. What do you think about open source licenses or ransomware or ads in your custom bought hardware or books or movies, whatever? Go to elementop.com, click the Contact Us button at the top of the page, answer the world's hardest CAPTCHA, fill out the form, and click send, and that will come to my inbox, and you'll get priority there. Or you can dial 559-IMOB, leave us a voicemail on our Google Voice box, and we'll most likely play it right here on the air, on the bits, on the waves, on the data capsule.
Most things wireless, so it's back on the air.
There we go. It's back on the air. Or you can send an email to geekrant@elementop.com. That goes to both Seth, Miles, and myself. I said both and then said three people. That goes to all of us, Seth, Miles, and myself. And so, lest you think I am filtering your responses to them, you really want to send something to Seth and you don't think you can't trust me to get it to him, GeekRant at elementop.com will do that. And now, Seth, what do you have to lower my productivity other than filling the freaking oceans this week so that you look like a better hiring option than whatever I said?
Okay, this can be kind of funny. TalkObama2.me.
Now,
basically,
wait, I have to. Your southern accent made that sound like Taco Obama. Talk Obama. Okay.
Talk
Speak.
Obama
Yeah.
2.me. So talk Obama to me. Basically, it's a website, and then it gives you a little thing. You type in some phrase. It can only be like 180 characters, and you hit talk, and then you will hear President Obama. You can make President Obama say whatever you want.
There are places I'll remember all my life, though some have changed, some forever, and not for the better, some have gone, and some remain.
Wow, somebody spent some time on that.
Well, it sometimes is hard because if they don't have the word, they'll break it down into syllables and stuff. So you won't be able to hear this, but I had him say, "I was not born here." Just why not? Because that will appeal to a certain segment of the American population. Your video is being processed. Wow, it took it quite a while for it to come up with that. So anyway, talk Obama2.me, and then you can make Obama say whatever you want. It has possibilities.
So I just processed a couple of things that I learned to type in typing class. It's thinking about it. It's taking a little while. Makes sense. It's obviously indexing copies of his speeches.
Quick fox over the lazy dog. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their door shelves.
Interesting. I said country and it came out their shells or something. So the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. That messed it up. So it had to put the syllables together like you were talking about.
Right.
All right.
So
that's interesting. That's some serious engineering went into that.
Yep. It's like I always say, and by always I mean from now on going forward, can't all be midgets and backyard roller coasters.
And with that, it's time for us to say goodnight. Thank you, listener, for hanging out with us. Seth, as always, thanks for your stalwartness. Miles, no offense, no harm. No, we still love you. Glad to have you. Miles really wanted to be here. He takes this seriously. And he was like, he had to take his daughter to the airport was one of the things he had to do. And I swear he was like thinking, can I Uber that? And can I get out of my family responsibility? He was seriously missing this. And so we missed you too, Miles. Glad to have you back. And we'll see you next week. And so this is Mark saying, pay for what you like.
And like for what you pay.
I decided that's how I'm going to end every show. Pay for what you like.
And like what you pay for.
All right, Jinda, I'm guessing. Chag didn't stay with us, but thank you for hanging out with us. And although you YouTube peoples who'll be watching this after the fact, see you later. We'll be back, same bat time, same bat channel next week.